Is your 3D printer feeling the chill? Meet the Biqu Panda Shelter, a sleek, foldable enclosure designed to stabilize temperatures, contain harmful particles and VOCs, and protect your Bambu Lab A1 from dust and drafts. But does it deliver on its promises? Let's find out. Welcome back to Directed Tech. My name is Rick, and today we will unbox and assemble the Biqu Panda Shelter, a transparent, flame and water-resistant enclosure tailored for the Bambu Lab A1 and A1 Mini. With features like built-in temperature and humidity gauge and compatibility with the AMS light system, it's designed to enhance print quality and stability. We'll put it to the test with a few prints on the Bambu Lab A1 to see how it performs in real-world conditions. Stay tuned for our hands-on impressions and a breakdown of the pros and cons. Before we crack into these boxes, I'd like to thank Biqu for sending the Panda Shelter and the ventilation kit over for review. While these items were provided free of charge, Biqu has not placed any stipulations on my review, and they won't see this video before you, my subscribers, see it. Okay, let's crack into this. We've got our couple of boxes here. I've got my overhead cam set up. Hopefully I don't hit my head on my overhead cam. But we'll start with the main box here. I've got my little notepad so that I can take notes if there's, as far as the pros and cons goes. So here we have just a quick look. We have the shelter itself, and that's about the size that it will fold up to if you need to store it away. Then we have our set of short rods, 2 and 3. We've got our long rods here that are labeled. And then we've got, looks like our 3-way 90-degree connectors. And then we've got some 2-way connectors. And your instructions are right here on the top. Before we start the build on that, those things are, I wonder what they're made out of. They're pretty heavy. Maybe fiberglass. So we will get that out of the way. So these do come separately. You can choose to just buy the shelter, and then if you want the ventilation kit, if you buy it at the same time, it's a slightly reduced price, or you can buy it separately if you would like that as well. So in the ventilation kit, we have some brief instructions, and what you get is looks like a port and a ring here to attach your hose. You've got your hose, looks like well, it's actually a little bit kind of the higher quality. You can get, you've probably seen these, like, this is much smaller than a dryer vent, but silver on the outside, but then black plastic, or excuse me, silver on the inside, and then the black plastic on the outside. I've always found that these tend to have fewer holes. If it's just purely aluminum, there's always a lot of tiny little holes. So that's nice to see. And then we have the fan assembly itself. So it is a USB fan. Now I will note, yeah, it's USB. I never love that. At least when they don't send you a power brick, they just assume that we all have, 1,000 power bricks from phones and stuff that are just sitting in drawers. And at this point, I'm kind of out of them. But we've got our fan. I'm assuming, yeah, it's a 5-volt fan. We've got a cover for it. We've got a nice, it's actually got, it looks like it's got probably activated charcoal or something like that inside here. So that's kind of cool to see. So a fan, a cover, then we've got our port, our ring, and then over here we have a second grill and our mounting screws and bolts. So that is the entire kit. So now let's jump in to putting this all together. All right, folks. So we've got it mostly assembled. I totally intended to at least do a quick time lapse of that. Forgot to hit record. No. But anyway, maybe 10 minutes. Very straightforward if you follow the directions. Now I will say the directions basically say put 1 square in and then put in these long rods where you want to, depends on horizontal or vertical. depending on how you plan to use your setup. There is enough space in here for the A1 or the A1 Mini as well as the AMS Lite. And if you have chosen to put your printer in the A1, I don't know, I don't think you can put the AMS Lite on top of an A1 Mini, but I don't have one, so I don't know. You can let me know in the comments if that's the case. But anyway, if you do choose to go vertical, then this can be put in that orientation as well. But let me just show you one thing about the setup here. I found it actually easier. I put in the one square, like I said, the directions say put in the one square, then put in the vertical or horizontal, the long rods, and then put in the second one. I think that would be pretty difficult to do. I found that actually putting both squares in and then putting the long rods in, and let me bring in the overhead cam here, and I will show you what I am talking about. So here we have the two rods, and if you separate these and then put them in their respective corners, and then you can kind of use this angle here, bring them out together, and then slide them back. So I think that's probably an easier way of doing it. That's just my explanation. Now, let me make one point here. These are fiberglass rods. It says so here in the instructions, and as such, you may want to wear gloves when you do this. You know, just some work gloves. I've got a little, you know, fiberglass that I can feel in my thumb right now. But anyway, so that is the installation there. Now I'm going to do the ventilation, and since I'm recording, I will just keep that going. It looks like that is all going to be done right over here. So we get this Velcro spot here where our fan is going to be installed. All right, there we go. We now have the fan installed. That probably took 5 minutes. Again, I will say, I know it's a little hard to see, but getting the screws through and then attaching it to the flange when you're by yourself is a wee bit of a fun challenge. So now we can, there's probably a better way to do than put this whole bundle through, but I'm not ready to hook it up to anything yet. So there we go. The fan is now installed. All right, a few things to note here. So we do have a nice front large zippered door that's obviously clear, and you've got kind of double zippers here so you can open it from any point. There is also back here, as you can see, there's another, this would be a side door, which would be great. I believe the way that they have you, and I know the way that I have my A1 set up, the AMS Lite is over here on the right side of the printer. So this gives you a door to be able to have quick access. You're not having to reach in and then reach around to get to the AMS Lite. Now, I will probably hit this in the cons later. One thing to note, although you can use this in a vertical orientation, the location of the fan down here on the side is going to require you to use it like this, which means instead of having an openable top, you lose that because you're going to need to sit it on what used to be the side. It would have been nice if they would have put the fan on the back here, then you could have used this as the bottom. Now, if you don't, and again, you don't have to buy the ventilation kit, you can use this without the ventilation kit. And then this would be the bottom, and you'd have the top and the side, and then obviously your hygrometer down here you can position. You can rotate that if you want to use it in this orientation. All right, so enough of that. We'll just get into, we'll get to the A1 installed in here, and we'll get to printing. All right, now we just need to tighten the little clamp onto the hose here for the exhaust. I'm going to put a link in, it's an Amazon affiliate link, but this thing makes projects like this so much easier. Just throw that on in there. This is totally configurable. I've now got a ratchet tool that I can use to do this, and it makes working in tight locations just so much easier. And then it just goes back together, back into its little case. So yeah, cool. All right, we have everything set up inside the Panda shelter. So we got the A1. We've got enough room here up front. Actually, I'm gonna probably need to push that back just a little bit more for the build plate to move back and forth. All right, everything is set. We've got our model ready to send. I'm gonna go ahead and zip this up. We are preheating the bed since we're going to do the crazy thing and try and print with ASA on here. I don't know if you can hear, but I do have the exhaust fan running, and it is routed out to the window. So hopefully we will be fume free. You can see I've got, let's zoom in here a little bit, and we'll cover a couple of features here since we are waiting for the temperature to rise. So if you haven't already checked out some of my other reviews or upgrades, we've got the Biqu Panda Nomi on the front there. You can see we've got room for our pockets on the side, or not room for, but we do have some pockets over here on the side to store some things. I've got the that aluminum bougie scraper from Biqu or Big Tree Tech as well. And back there in the back, we've got our purple ASA loaded. So our bed is coming up to temperature. And obviously this is not designed, this is not going to be some kind of a magic solution to print engineering type materials. I'm just giving it a kind of a torture test. You know, the A1 is not designed to be in a heated enclosure. So, but I know if I just do a simple review, people are going to say like, why didn't you test this? Why didn't you test that? So I'm trying to go a little bit extreme here and test out some things that maybe you normally wouldn't do on an A1. But, you know, again, primarily keeping down the VOCs, putting this in a nice enclosure. It's going to keep out drafts. So if you do have problems, I know with my unenclosed printers, it was not uncommon, especially if I'm printing flat item, to have warping at the bottom as things start to cool, or, you know, you get the air conditioner that kicks on and you end up with a draft. You can actually see the fumes coming off of that filament there, which is something that I don't normally see. So that's kind of nice, and it's getting sucked back and out of the house. Okay, so print is finished. Now, as you saw, I did have a couple failed prints, and again, no fault of the shelter. Printing ASA on a Bambu Lab A1 is definitely not something that they would recommend. I did have to go ahead and use some glue to get this to adhere, and it is on there pretty well now. So we will pop that off, and here we go. So you can see, as ASA will tend to do, I've got some warping and a little bit of layer separation going on. So not the greatest print, but again, I kind of wanted to do a bit of a torture test as far as this goes. Now what is important for this test is the fact that the fan and the ventilation system worked perfectly. I never had any fumes, and as you could see the this is well-dried ASA. It's been through several 12-hour drying cycles at 80 C. So I don't think that was moisture. You don't see any bubbles or any signs of popping. Seems like all of the defects that you see here are due to the to these corners peeling up, and so that's why you got some poor layer lines and the separation there. You can see some defects there on the bottom. But anyway, so the ventilation worked perfectly, never had any faint smell of the ASA, so I would say that is a win for this test. Real surprise here, but the print went just fine. And this is actually a texture sheet from Biqu, and that prints nicely on the bottom. But yep, another successful test. Now we're printing basically a little trash can. So this is finished the base, and it is printing in base mode. So we're gonna have a nice, fairly tall item there that will, you know, showcase. Looks like things are going quite nicely. All right, and this print is done. Still adhered well to my build plate, and I just wanted to give you a quick look around in here. So as you can see, there is plenty of room inside the enclosure here. You are slightly limited. You can see I did end up turning or tilting the A1 here just a little bit to give me a bit extra room, because you do get kind of close here on the front, and that let me pull the A1 or the AMS light forward just a hair. So pretty good amount of room in here, maybe slightly cramped, but obviously it's, you know, it's about as big as you want it to be. This is sitting on a small table, and if it were any longer or any wider, it would not fit on said table. So here's the edge, and this is a small. I'll have to measure to see what the dimensions are of the table. I'll put those on the screen, and I'll also put up the dimensions of the enclosure itself. But yeah, there you go. I think we're going to do one more print, and then we're going to call it a day. We have finished our final print for this little review, and it looks like it came out pretty well. Let's get some exposure on there. Overall, happy with that. And just dimensionally, I just checked, it's about, when you look on the inside here, you can see in the little corner there, it's right about 32.5 inches long, and then you're going to see 22.5 inches on the square side. So the depth and the height in this configuration, 22.5 inches there. So you do have room for everything. It is a little bit cramped, but again, if you are somebody who needs to, you know, vent the fumes that you could potentially see, or prevent drafts or anything like that, then I think this is a pretty good solution for you. So, after a few test prints and spending some quality time with the Biqu Panda shelter, here's where I've landed. The pros? The assembly is quick. I had it up and running in under half an hour, including the ventilation kit. The dual zippers on both the front and side make accessing your printer super convenient, and the built-in hygrometer is a nice touch for monitoring the conditions inside the enclosure. It really does help regulate temperature and block out drafts, which is huge for even basic materials like PLA and PETG. You even saw that we were able to get a successful print with ASA, which is not a material the A1 is recommended for. The tool pockets are a thoughtful detail, both inside and out. Plus, the CPAI flame-resistant fabric and the ability to pair it with the ventilation kit for filtering out the VOCs give it a serious edge on safety and air quality. Oh, and for anyone with curious pets or kids, it's a great barrier to keep the little hands and paws away from your work in progress. Now for the cons. The biggest trade-off is the fan position means that if you choose or need to use this enclosure vertically, you lose that side door serving as the top, which can limit your access just a little bit. Also, even though the internal space is generous, you'll likely need to rearrange how you place your printer or the accessories versus an open air setup. Finally, if you're someone who relies on the top-mounted spool holder on the A1, you'll need to rethink that setup. It doesn't work well when the enclosure is oriented horizontally. So what are my final thoughts? The Panda shelter is a smart, well-designed enclosure that solves a lot of real-world problems for desktop 3D printing. It's not perfect, but for the price and feature set, it's a solid upgrade, especially if you're printing with temperature-sensitive materials or want a cleaner, safer print environment. Not everyone needs an enclosure for their printer, but if the features previously mentioned appeal to you, this enclosure definitely deserves a spot on your shortlist. Now, you may notice that I've boxed up the Panda shelter. Is that because I don't find it useful? Well, quite the contrary. Now that I have the H2D and I already have a P1S, I have 3D printers that I can use for filaments not suited for my bed slingers. So, I don't need the Panda shelter, and I want it to go to one of my subscribers who needs it. If you would be able to put the Panda shelter to good use, then please click on the entry link in the description and fill out the entry form. Due to legal and shipping constraints, this contest is only open to subscribers located in the United States. Sorry about that. In the future, I'll try and expand a little bit. I will be announcing the winner when we hit 4,500 subscribers, and we're already at over 4,100. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this review helpful, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more honest 3D printing reviews, tips, and tests. Until next time, let's keep on learning, burning, printing, and growing together. Take care, everyone.